Hi, I'm Amy, thank you for tuning in. This is my haul video for end of February to beginning of March. As usual, it is an absolutely huge stack of books. I don't know how this happens every month. And I am going to show you a couple of other things I've bought as well that are a little bit spooky on the usual style of things I like. I do have an exciting giveaway this month, which is a trilogy of signed YA books. I'll tell you more about it at the end of the video. So stay tuned until the end of the haul and you'll get to hear about how you can win those books. So first up, I very kindly got sent a surprise proof copy by Usborne. Thank you very much. It is Broken Hearts and Zombie Parts by William Hussey. I've really enjoyed William Hussey's other YA books, so I'm excited about this one. This one says on the back, JC Spark has a broken heart and in a few short weeks he'll require major surgery to repair it, which means he only has a month to accomplish two almost impossible tasks. Number 1, shoot his epic zombie movie on a shoestring budget if he has any hope of getting into film school. Number 2, fall in love before the surgery lands him with a huge scar, because how will anyone ever fancy him after that? That sounds so cute and lovely and moving and all of the things. I love the fact that it's a zombie movie too, so thank you Usborne, very excited about that one. I also pre-ordered this. I don't think I've hauled it in a previous video, so I'm going to show you it this time. I loved My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones, so I was super hyped for the sequel. I'm already listening to it and it's brilliant. It continues Jade's story a few years later, and it is just as gruesome, fun and referential of slasher movies as the first one, if not more so. So I definitely recommend that. You may have heard by now that I have announced my anthology that I've curated with my friend Mia Kujnia, featuring lots of amazing UKYA authors. So it probably explains why in the past 6 months I've had a massive craving to read other anthologies. So I've ordered this one to go with the anthology collection, which is At Midnight. I wasn't sure whether there was another word to that. And it's 15 beloved fairy tales reimagined. Loads of really cool authors involved, edited by Dahlia Adler. I've read some other books that she's edited and they've been brilliant. So it features authors, just looking down the list, like Reza Lim, Melinda Lowe, Anne-Marie McLemore, who's a personal favourite of mine, Meredith Russo. So I'm excited to see what this is all about. Next, I've become a bit obsessed with buying sets of books from Books to Door. I've read other series by Kelly Armstrong, so I saw this one on there and thought I'd give it a go. It is a series about witches, I'm assuming. I just saw the author name and thought I'd go for it, but this is not an ad, I just really like their products. I bought the whole True Blood series on there for a steal as well, so it's a good place to look if you're wanting a whole series of books. Next up, I've decided in April that I'm going to read all vampire books, partially because I have a Mina book announcement, and partially because YA Book Club have decided to read a vampire book, and there were absolutely loads of books on the list that people could have chosen from, so I decided I'm going to read all of those books plus a few others, including hopefully this one, although it is a massive tome, The Casket Girls. Anytime people recommend me books about vampires, this one seems to come up on the list. It is also set in New Orleans like my Mina books, so I'm excited about reading this one. I think it might be historical. I don't know much about it, but it has vampires, I think. It sounds really good. It says some the main character's caught in a hurricane of myths and monsters, so that sounds like my kind of thing. Another book that I've hauled and then instantly started reading is Legends and Lattes. I wasn't sure what to expect from this one, but it is a perfect high fantasy for people who don't normally read high fantasy. It's very cozy and the fantasy side of it is accessible. I didn't find the terminology and the world building confusing, as I often do. And it's just got absolutely heartwarming relationships, friendships, characters figuring out how to run a coffee house at a time period where a lot of the technology doesn't really allow for it, and I'm just absolutely desperate for the second book already, and I'm only halfway through this one. So next up we have some things that I ordered. I've ordered things from Lauren Rankin Art before. This is the card that the jewellery came on that I've ordered. If you want the details, I'll put them in the description, and you can also see them here if you pause the video. But the stuff that she makes is absolutely amazing. It is, I'm guessing it's acrylic jewellery. I'm not very good at the tech side of stuff, but look at these, the crow earrings. I really love them. And I ordered some Scream earrings, and these are in the sale, which makes them even better. I'm not sure if you can see that they're tiny playing cards with Sydney and Ghostface on. So absolutely super impressed with those, as I always am by Lauren Rankin stuff. Next, I've seen a few people talk about this, including Kerry from BookTubers, and I trust her recommendations, so I thought that I would go for Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. Not my typical choice of book. I do quite like a romance if there's a bit of sport or kind of competition involved, so I thought this one would be fun. Next, in my quest to collect all of the Charlaine Harris books, I have collected, I think these are called the Lily Bard, yes, Lily Bard books, and the Lily Bard Mysteries. So this is, I don't know if I'm holding them the right way up, this is the series, and I'll just show you the covers, in no particular order because I don't know anything about these yet. So we've got Shakespeare's Christmas, Shakespeare's Counsellor, Shakespeare's Trollop, interesting choice of title, and Shakespeare's Champion. So I've heard really good things about these ones. I've enjoyed all of the Charlaine Harris I've read so far, so I'm hoping that this will be another good choice. Next we have a book that I've hauled and then read instantly, found, just look at this design to start off with, titles on the side, and I love the little touches like please don't read this. It is an anthology of found footage stories, and I'll talk more about this in my wrap up, but I really enjoyed it. Some stories in particular I thought were absolutely amazing. If you're a fan of found footage, this is really well done. Next, because I watched Erin Megan's video about found footage, I'll link to it in the description if I remember, I ordered that book that she recommended, well that she'd read and I think enjoyed quite a lot of the stories. And episode 13, which she'd also read, by Craig DeLuey, I think name's pronounced. I'm not going to read the blurb because I don't want to hear too much about it, but it's also meant to be based on found footage, and just flicking through there's some quite cool mixed media and stuff like that, so I'm really excited about this. It seems to be all over my social media at the moment. Next up, Simon Schuster kindly sent me Bite Risk by S.J. Wills. I may have squealed a little bit when I got this proof because I'm just a huge fan of supernatural books, as you probably know if you've watched any of my videos. And when I read the blurb of this one, do you ever just read a blurb and you're just nodding all the way through it like, yes, this book is for me? Let me read you the back and hopefully you'll see what I mean. Tremorglade, an ordinary town with ordinary residents except for one night a month. When the full moon rises, the adults become werewolves and the young people must protect themselves from harm. But as the turned begin to escape, what dangers lie ahead? This one comes out in June. I will definitely be reading it before then. And I'll just show you, I know the cover's been revealed, so I'm safe to show you. On the back, that is the gorgeous actual finished cover as well. So a super exciting one there. Oh, another Shakespeare book, missed it in the stack. Shakespeare's Landlord, so that's also part of the Lily Bard books. And the Tower of Books is falling, so let me just adjust that before I carry on. And then we have got Cursed Objects, which I don't remember why I ordered this, which is probably a bad sign being that it's about cursed things. Let's hope it isn't one. I think I must have seen it on somebody's social media, and it says it is strange but true stories of the world's most infamous items. I mean, that's all I needed to see really. I started reading a bit more non-fiction. I know this one is blurring the lines between fiction and non-fiction probably, if it's based on the myths behind some cursed objects, but sounds cool. Really like the design of it, and I'm excited about this one. It's by J.W. Ocker, published by Quirk, so looking forward to that. This one has been on my radar for a while, and it's one of those that I thought I pre-ordered and never transpired that I had, so I ordered it. It's by Olivia Horrocks. It's her debut novel and it's called Beautiful Little Fools. It just sounds delightful and gorgeous. A historical novel with some romance and things thrown in there. Birdie dreams of becoming a professional artist, but the constraints of society demand she marries well. In order to fulfil her dream, she makes a deal with her parents to let her spend a year at the St Agnes School of Art in Cornwall, after which she'll return home and marry the insufferable, influential and wealthy Charles Bonham. Birdie, however, has no intention of going back. Free of responsibility for the first time, she finds herself surrounded by a crew of bohemian artists who show her just how dizzying independence can be. And when she meets the magnetic but troubled Tremaine family, she'll be forced to ask herself exactly what kind of woman and artist she wants to be. That sounds really fun. Kind of reminiscent of Laura Wood's books, but for adults, so I'm excited about that. I know that Olivia has got strong connections to Cornwall, from what I remember from her social media, so it'll be exciting to see how she brings that to life. And next up, the book that I've seen everywhere, and I finally caved and ordered it, The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. I love the colour, the pastel, lilac and everything. It's just gorgeous. Don't know anything about it. Assume it's witchy. It says on the back, witch wanted, live-in tutor wanted for 3 young witches, must have nerves of steel, previous teaching experience not necessary, witchiness essential. And it says absolutely charming. I found myself gravitating towards these. Between the darker things I'm reading, I'm looking for kind of cute, cozy, lovely books, so I'm hoping that one will fit the bill. So the first thing I want to show you is another Loungefly bag. Yes, you may say you'd already have a lot of spooky Loungefly bags, but I saw this one in a local shop. There's a really good deal on it, so I couldn't resist. And as you can see, it's a Spooky Jack haunted house one. It just reminded me of my book with the moon on the cover. It's got really nice little details on it as usual with Loungefly bags. So I just thought I needed to add this one to my collection. Next up, we have a mixture of books. Some are completing collections, some are books that have been recommended to me and I've bought, and a couple are books from publishers, which as ever I really appreciate. So I've been invited to do a read along of From Blood and Ash. There's a group of really nice bloggers, a couple of whom I'm friends with, who were doing this, so they asked if I wanted to read it with them. It's been on my TBR list for ages, but I've just recently picked up this copy of it. It's a lot longer than I expected, so we'll see if I actually manage to get it read in the month of February, but hopefully I will. Next up, I pre-ordered How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix, in case you need me to tell you that, you probably don't. And Forbidden Planet had these gorgeous signed editions, and I love how Grady Hendrix, even though he signs loads of copies, always does some little detail in them. And they've also got sprayed edges, which is very nice. Next up, I ordered Bunny after hearing so many good things about it on BookTok and BookTube. It's by Mona Awad. It, I think, is a dark academia type book. It sounded really good from what people have said. It says, Samantha Heather Mackey is an outsider in her small, highly selective MFA programme at Warren University. In fact, she is utterly repelled by the rest of her fiction writing cohort, a clique of unbearably twee rich girls who call each other Bunny, but then the bunnies issue her with an invitation and Samantha finds herself inexplicably drawn to their front door, across the threshold and down their rabbit hole. Blending sharp satire with fairy tale horror, Bunny is a spellbinding trip of a novel from one of fiction's most original voices. I love everything about that. I'm intrigued by the fact that it's described as being quite trippy, so we'll see what that's like. I absolutely adore this cover. I think there have been different editions of this book and I just ended up with the pink one. Next up, Mares from Harpies in the Trees. We're talking about this book by Christopher Golden. I've read a few of his Buffy novelisations, but I don't think I've read any other novels by him. Road of Bones sounded really intriguing, so I thought I'd give it a go. I've also got another of his pre-ordered that I think comes out in January or February, so when that arrives I will haul it. So the blurb says, Siberia's Kolyma Highway is 1,200 miles of gravel-packed permafrost in a snow-covered wilderness. Known as the Road of Bones, it is a massive graveyard of the former Soviet Union's Gulag prisoners. Hundreds of thousands of people were worked to death and left where their bodies fell, consumed by the frozen elements and ploughed beneath the permafrost road. Felix Teague Teagland is in Russia to drive the highway, collecting ghost stories and local legends along the way. Only when Teague and his team reach their destination, they find an abandoned town and a pack of predatory wolves, faster and smarter than any wild animal should be. That sounds really gripping. I don't know whether the event is based on true. I'll have to look into that. But it sounds very dark and very interesting to me, so I thought I needed a copy. I don't really remember why I ended up with this one. Cemetery Boys by Heather Brewer. I think when I was building a TBR and craving a certain kind of teen book that was quite dark and contemporary, this one came up. And I think I'd seen praised by people like Madeline Rue and Kirkus Review, so I just found a cheap copy of this and thought I'd try it. It says when Stephen's dad says they're moving, Stephen knows it's pointless to argue. They're broke from paying mum's hospital bills, and now the only option left is to live with Stephen's grandmother in Spencer, a small town that's like something out of the Twilight Zone. Stephen's summer starts looking up when he befriends punk girl Cara and her charismatic twin brother Devon. Only as the summer presses on and harmless nights hanging out in the cemetery take a darker turn, Stephen starts to suspect that Devon is less a friend than a leader, and he might be leading them to a very sinister end. Okay, I see why I bought that. Kind of cult meets the darker side of teen friendship, so that sounds awesome. So on to a couple that came from publishers. This one was really nice because it came with a personalised notebook about writing my own love story. I think that I probably will be writing something darker and spookier than a love story, although I do tend to have some romance in my writing. But thank you, Scholastic, that is a really cute touch. And the book is This Time It's Real by Anne Liang. I requested this one when I got the email from Scholastic because it sounded so good. I've been wanting to read a little bit more romantic stuff after reading a Jenny Bayliss book at Christmas, which was Merry Christmas to You. And obviously this isn't festive themed, but it just sounded like something I wanted to read. When 17-year-old Eliza Lynn's essay about meeting love of her life goes viral, her life changes overnight. Except Eliza made the entire thing up. She's never been in a relationship, let alone in love. Desperate to hide the truth, Eliza strikes a deal with the budding actor in her class, Kaz. She'll help him with college applications if he poses as her boyfriend. When their fake relationship starts being a little too convincing, will Eliza choose between her dreams or her heart? That sounds so cute. I love a fake dating story, so I'm excited about this one. The next book that I was sent by a publisher was sent by Putnam Press, and this one is Burn the Negative by Josh Winning. I read The Shadow Glass by Josh Winning last year, I think it was. Absolutely loved it. That one was kind of mostly fantasy and very nostalgic of 80s things like The Dark Crystal, 80s movies I should say. So I was intrigued to see what Josh's adult horror would be like, and the blurb sounded so good I had to ask for a copy. So it says, arriving in LA to visit the set of a new streaming horror series, journalist Laura Warren witnesses a man jumping from a bridge, landing right behind her car. Here we go, she thinks it started, because the series she's reporting on is a remake of a 90s horror flick, a cursed 90s horror flick, which she starred in as a child and has been running from her whole life. In the guest house, Laura played a little girl with the terrifying gift to tell people how the Needle Man would kill them. When 8 of the cast and crew died in ways that eerily mirrored the movie's on-screen deaths, the film became a cult classic and ruined her life. Leaving it behind, Laura changed her name and accent, dyed her hair and moved across the Atlantic. But some scripts don't want to stay buried. Now as the body count rises again, Laura finds herself on the run with her aspiring actress sister and a jaded psychic, hoping to end the curse once and for all and stay out of the Needleman's lethal reach. This sounds so good. It kind of has that 90s horror movie feel, and obviously it's self-referential of a 90s horror movie. And I had a flick through and there were these really cool designed up elements which I've not looked too much into them. It says that that's a VHS copy. I'm trying not to spoil it too much, but I love books with extra designed elements and mixed media, so not only does this one sound great, but it looks beautiful too, so I'm really excited about this one. Next, I've been craving urban fantasy. I seem to be craving a lot of different types of books this month, and when I did a bit of a deep dive into books that were like True Blood and other urban fantasy, Sean and Maguire, I think I pronounced their name right hopefully, their books came up a lot, and this is the first in a series in the encrypted urban fantasy series. There's a bookseller called Han who works at the Drake bookshop. I think I've seen her reading one of these books, so between online recommendations and people that I know, this one sounded like a series I would like. Next, I think the rest of the books are point horrors. So as you may know, if you've been following the things that I've been buying lately, I have been trying to complete my point horror collection. And so far I've done it. I've done it to the point where I'm satisfied, where I've got the books with the certain kinds of covers, like the 90s ones that I read back in the 90s. There are some earlier 80s ones and some that came out in the early 2000s, but for now I've just concentrated on the section of it that I remember, and then maybe I'll add to it as we go. So the ones that I picked up recently are, take the order format, one of the Nightmare Hall books. I don't remember this one. I don't think I've read the whole Nightmare Hall series, but I absolutely love the colour palette of this cover. I'm thinking Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde already. I don't know what it's about. I also never really read Point Horror Unleashed back in the day that I can remember. From the reviews, they sound like they're meant to be a little bit more extreme than Point Horror, which is interesting. So we have that one. We have Moon Children. Is this a werewolf book? I kind of hope so. We'll find out when I read it. House of Bones looks very intriguing. I love how kind of, obviously old school because they're from the 90s, these books. I love how creepy all the covers are of the Point Horror Unleashed ones. Then one that I remember owning in the 90s but sadly did not keep, The Watcher. This one is about a girl who watches a soap opera every day, imagining she's the main character, and then her life starts to echo the main characters, as things like that happen in Point Horror series, in Point Horror books. This one has my name, so I always feel a little bit unnerved. I think the last book I read with my name was Gone Girl. If you've read that, you know why that was probably a weird experience to read. But yeah, so I'm quite intrigued and slightly scared to read one called Amy. Next, I've been trying to complete the Point Horror collections. I did have a few of those back in the 90s, but didn't keep them. So this one contains April Fool's, The Waitress and the Snowman. So I've ended up with a couple of copies of The Waitress lately, but I'm happy to have them in the bind-ups as well as the individual ones. Another one I had in the 90s and really liked it. I was a big, I was just checking that I was right, I was a big R.L. Stine fan back in the day, so I think I read most of his point horrors. And this one is about somebody receiving sinister phone calls. Next up we have another Nightmare Hall, Pretty Please, with another provocative cover, so I'll be interested. I think I'm going to at some point read these books maybe one a month, try and read them fairly close together so I can follow the sequence. I don't think the stories are hugely related, but they're all set on the same campus. Another point horror, Unleash the Ghost Wife. I have no idea what that is about. I'm going to read the blurb just because this one looks quite intriguing. Be warned, the untold terror is out. Let me be near you, Johnny. Share your warmth with me. You do love me, don't you, Johnny? You better love me. I didn't mean to hurt you, Johnny. I just get so scared. I've got nobody but you, and you're alive. I wish I was alive, because I love you, Johnny. I'll never let you go. I love you to death. How cool and cheesy does that sound? Interesting, it sounds like it might be aimed at a slightly older audience than the usual point horror, kind of mid to late teens. So we'll see what that is like. And then we have one that's in really nice condition, actually. When you get a nice condition point horror, it's always a nice thing. This one contains The Watcher, The Boy Next Door and Hitchhiker. I don't know how they collected these, whether they're collected by theme or if they just chose a range of popular point horrors, but I do like them, so I think I've got the full set of those now. As promised, I'll now tell you about the giveaway. So all you need to do to enter is make sure you subscribe to my channel, and then you've got a chance of winning these gorgeous 3 signed books. I really enjoyed the series. I ended up somehow with 2 sets of them, so you can benefit from my mistake. It's a YA series by Vic James. I'll just show you the fact that the first one is signed, read you the blurb for it. All the others are signed as well in different colours, and I'll read you the blurb so you can see if it's your kind of thing. A modern Britain and age-old cruelty. Britain's magically skilled aristocracy compels all commoners to serve them for 10 years, and now it's the Hadleys' turn. Abby Hadley is assigned to England's most ruthless noble family. The secrets she uncovers could win her freedom or break her heart. Her brother Luke is enslaved in a brutal factory town, where new friends' ideals might cost him everything. Then, while the elite vie for power, a young aristocrat plots to remake the world with his dark gifts. As Britain moves from anger to defiance, all 3 must take sides, and the consequences of their choices will change everything forever. I remember why I really love this series after reading that, so you have a chance to win. All 3, as I mentioned, just subscribe and comment below. Tell me something about a book that you've seen in this video or a book you've enjoyed reading recently. So that's it. I hope you've enjoyed that haul, and I will be back next month with all the books that I've hauled then, and please check out my next videos and I'll be talking about things I've read, interviewing authors and things like that. So thanks very much for watching. See you next time. Bye.